I'm not going to mince words, Ambassador Bolton. You are scathing about the urgency and the magnitude of the Pakistan problem. How should the Secretary of State advise the President on our new relationship with Pakistan?
Well, I think for many years we've been constrained by our concern for Pakistani logistical support to our forces in Afghanistan and our concern about Pakistan's nuclear weapons, which if they fell into the hands of terrorists one by one, or if, worst case, a terrorist regime took over Pakistan, would be a global threat immediately. But the fact is we've been played by the government of Pakistan for a long time. Terrorist elements within that government already, particularly inter-services intelligence, have played a double game, and we've put up with it. I just think with the end of American involvement in Afghanistan, with a terrorist government in place there now, which gives potential support for terrorist activity and takeover of Pakistan, we've just got to get tough on the government, either to crack down on terrorism or to face the consequences.
To me, the critical sentence in your wonderful essay in the Washington Post, John Bolton, was you say, now we tilt to India. Let's take it back to John Galbraith, as ambassador to India long ago and far away. We've always been struggling with this tilt to India. How do we tilt to India now to assist the memory of our soldiers in Afghanistan?
Well, the principal threat that we face globally in the 21st century is China, and India has moved away a long way from the so-called neutrality of the Cold War, where it actually tilted toward the Soviet Union, which was one reason we tilted toward Pakistan. I mean, it kind of goes back and forth. But India now sees China as the threat, and it sees the same thing we see in Pakistan, a large and growing Chinese presence, a Chinese assistance to Pakistan over the years for its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. And I think the time is here for the U.S. to tighten up with India, with Australia, with Japan, which we already formed what we call the Quad with, and to really to put to Pakistan as clearly as we can, give up this flirtation with terrorism. And if you do, there's a real prospect for cooperation. But we're not going to go on any longer pretending you're not doing it.
There's always been a struggle here institutionally within our international relations with India. What form of relationship would you advocate after your travels to Central Asia? Does Biden need to go to Delhi now?
Well, I think he needs to go soon, and I think we've got some real issues with India too. This is not going to be easy. They've got to break their dependence on Russian weapon systems, which they've relied on and purchased for decades, going back to the Cold War. And I think a lot of the political class in India is going to have to wake up to the fact that neutrality, which was never really neutral during the Cold War, is no longer an option. I think they're beginning to move in that direction. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, but I don't underestimate the amount of work that's going to be involved.
Ambassador Bolton, how concerned are you about some sort of alliance between the Taliban and Islamic State or other groups that could become something reminiscent of the al-Qaeda of yore?
Well, I think it's an important question. I think we should first remember the al-Qaeda of yore is the al-Qaeda of today as well, and they have remained in close touch with Taliban during 20 years of exile in Pakistan. They're back in force now. We see that even in UN reports before the fall of the Afghan government. ISIS-K has been at odds with Taliban because they don't think they're tough enough. They think they're insufficiently strict in the implementation of Islamic law. So there's tension there now. But let's be clear, this could turn into cooperation in the blink of an eye. And ISIS-K does have worldwide threat capabilities, as does al-Qaeda. And I'm worried we have slipped back into a pre-9/11 situation.
Meanwhile, we do have reports that there are a number of American citizens still in Afghanistan, and the U.S. has completely pulled out. What do you see as the best pathway to get some of these people who are remaining out of the nation safely? I mean, especially whose alliance are we going to rely upon?
Well, I'm very worried that they're not coming out. Let's remember, a lot of these U.S. citizens may well be dual citizen U.S. and Afghan, or they may have been Afghan and become U.S. citizens. So from Taliban's perspective, they're still Afghans, and I would not rest any comfort in cooperating with Taliban. That we may get a few more people out who are American citizens. I think the number of Afghans who worked with us and other coalition forces for the last 20 years are going to be few and far between getting out. I think we're at real risk here of a long, brutal hostage situation.
Did we do the right thing? We left, and we left those people behind, and we knowingly did it.
We never should have left. I think that's the fundamental mistake. I think the exit itself was badly bungled, no question about that. But the mistake here goes back to the Trump administration negotiating with the Taliban, not negotiating with a terrorist group, not negotiating with the government of Afghanistan that we helped create 20 years ago, and that whatever its deficiencies, and it had plenty, it had at least some democratic legitimacy, of which the Taliban has zero.
Yeah, certainly complicated. Can you come back and just do big picture with us? A lot of the concerns about the way in which we withdrew has been China now stepping in. The Belt and Road Initiative, as you know, through Pakistan, you wonder if it continues through Afghanistan. Is that a real threat?
Yes, I think it is. In fact, I have an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today on the reaction both by China and Russia to what we've done in Afghanistan. And I think while we're all understandably concentrating on what's gone wrong in Afghanistan, what's the global terrorist threat as a consequence, if you look at the big picture, our main adversaries read this as a sign of American retreat and weakness.
John Bolton, you came out of Baltimore. Your father was a fireman. You did the military academy thing and wandered up to the liberal swamp known as New Haven, Connecticut. And, you know, it must have been a real shock your first day at Yale University. You did pretty good up there as well. You've got a great perspective on the international relations establishment of Washington. Are we in search of an operative theory? We went from the civilizations, the Washington Consensus, maybe Zakaria's PostAmerican World. What does John Bolton's new foreign policy theory look like?
Well, you know, I'm a Burkean conservative, so I'm
My
not
deepest
so
sympathies.
not so interested in broad-scale theorizing. But I think American foreign policy has to be based on American national interest, which is why we were in Afghanistan. We weren't there to do charity work for the Afghans. We were there as a strategic defense against the recurrence of terrorism like we saw on 9/11. And I think when we give up that very hard-headed approach, we leave America in danger, which is exactly where I think we are today.
Meanwhile, we are hearing the administration is turning its focus much more to the Far East, into cybersecurity, to cyber warfare, to the protection that could come from space and other types of fronts for the new war. What do you foresee in terms of the U.S.'s priorities and how it should chart a path in that direction?
Well, I think cyberspace has been a kind of a Garden of Eden for many people for 20 years or so. We now realize it's filled with dangers. As I said before, I do think China is the main threat, the existential threat of the 21st century. But I think what's most important to understand is with the end of the Cold War, the collapse of the Soviet Union, although people had this dream of the peace dividend and whatnot, actually in the past 30 years, the world is more dangerous from more diverse threats that we've got to be ready for. It's not with Afghanistan gone, we're more secure. The clear point today is we are less secure, and we need to be ready across a multiplicity of threats.